This is Navajo Grandma, and because of the video I made yesterday, I was very disappointed because of the voice and the wind that has become my friend. And so it's really difficult sometimes when you're out in the reservation trying to make a video, and so far no luck with microphones. So I wanted to just do an addendum to that video, and because I want my grandfather's life to be a lot more honored than having the wind and whatever. Yeah, you saw the environment, and I hope you appreciated that. Cabazon, where we were yesterday, basically is called Tsetnajin in Navajo. That's called Tsetnajin. In Spanish, it means bullheaded, or it also means that it is stubborn, bullheaded and stubborn. And so I know in another language it means intelligent, so just different languages. Now, Cabazon is located in Sandoval County in New Mexico, and not far from there, if you go southeast, you will be headed towards Albuquerque, New Mexico, and then directly east is Jemez Pueblo, and where my grandfather's mother lived. She lived northeast from this location, a place called Torreon. And then direct out west is where my grandparents eventually landed. It's called Pueblo Pintado. And some of the other areas I will refer to as Fort Wingate, which is more southwest from this point. Now, with that being said, Cabazon was one of the older towns, and in the 1870s. Now, it was also a stagecoach. It had saloons. It had a blacksmith shop, as well as it had a store that was run by the name of, his name was Richard Heller. And Richard Heller was a prominent businessman there. He owned a lot of livestock. And as well as, then he died in I believe it was in he died in 1949. Sorry, kind of a little brain bleed there. But anyways, and so this place out in Cabazon in Sandoval County basically used to be frequented by Billy the Kid. We had Kid Carson, as well as Calamity Jane, and Pat Garrett was one of them, and the other there were more gunslingers that were known there. And in the video, there's a peak that is to the right of the video, and that is called Cabazon Peak. Now, it is what is referred to a volcanic plug. It was the volcanic eruptions that kind of built up that whole peak, and its elevation is 7,785 feet, and it's quite a climb. There are many people who climb that, and it is just absolutely breathtaking to be that far up. And basically, so that's kind of the that's just kind of a refresher of what I was trying to tell you with the wind blowing. And directly behind me in the video, you could barely see, was the town of Cabazon. And again, here is a picture of my grandfather. This is my grandfather, and I hope you can see it without and perfect, a little more perfect. His name is Mescalito Nelson. His Navajo name is Natal Chi, and he was born in Cabazon. And again, his father was Raphael Mescal, and his mother was White Lady. And so they referred to her as White Lady because she was part Hispanic and part Navajo. And she was very, very light-skinned. And so she was referred as White Lady. And anyways, so, and she didn't live very far from where Cabazon exists. So anyways, the story that I wanted to tell you about my grandfather is that when he was born there as a teenager, his father, Raphael, took him up on Cabazon, and he let him view a breathtaking view of that place, as well as he was with his father, and his father taught him. Basically, when he got there, he said there is a Chacoan type of Anasazi buildings that were put up there and built there, and those were used for prayer. Basically for, they say that it looks like a temple. Now, I haven't climbed it. So those were used as a blessing, a place to receive blessings or for prayer. There were rituals, and they were mainly, religious things that they did up there. And so that is what my grandfather found. And he asked my great-grandfather, Raphael, and asked him a lot of questions where he came from. And that place called Cabazon is basically called Kintlachoi. It's a ghost town. And now it is Kintlachoi. It's just broken down. The stores are broken down. And the one thing that I want to mention is that Delgadito was the second signer of the Treaty of 1868. He was my great-great-great-grandfather. And he basically, that town, the Cabazon that you saw in the video, he frequented that place as well, and he purchased his food from the store. And we have that. We got that from the archives, and it was wonderful because it itemized everything that he would purchase. And I told you we never drank coffee. We were taught to only drink Navajo tea or herbal teas, and it was never very hot. Grandpa always made sure that it was cool, and it was, if there was honey, because he was incredible. He himself was a beekeeper, and he would mix that, or the Navajo women, the Dene women, would make sugar, a very natural sugar. And one day I need to get that and make that myself. It's incredible to learn that from my auntie who told me this, and because these were not foods that white people gave us. We subsisted on, basically, the Dene people subsisted on what they had. So, anyways, onward, my grandfather, and as you can tell, I always say, I have Grandpa's lips, and I love him so. I was always hanging on to the bottom of his trousers, or my grandmother, my Biji's skirt. I guess I was so needy in such a funny way because not being with my parents, I was always clinging to them, but I'm glad I did. It was a good thing because I learned so much from them and all that they blessed me with. Now, because of what I wanted to share with you is mainly in our lives, I explained in the video because of the things that are happening in our lives here in the United States today, our government and all of our economy, everything going downhill just as fast as it day by day. And we need people who we can look up to. And my grandfather, I share him with you and his life. I want to do a kind of a documentary of his life, because though you see him and he looks well and he was a wonderful leader, he had his adversities that were huge. And when you hear about them, it will astound you, because through it all, he was incredible. And through his heartache, his losses, what he stood for, and he was really an amazing leader. And he helped, he served. Even with his heartaches, he served. And this is what I told you about, Grandma. When I went through my adversities, I think back upon my grandfather, and that was the very first thing I did. I would seek to serve somewhere, somehow, even if I washed the dishes or washed the floor for somebody, or did something, write a letter for them. There was something I could do. So that is my remedy that I learned from my grandfather. Now he loved Christ. And though you look at it from a Christianity point of view, my grandfather had a different point of view, but that he didn't learn this from white people. As through the oral histories, he passed on what he was taught and where our people came from, and the magnificent information my grandfather had that he shared and he taught me, and I heard as I listened, as I was around him. So there is a lot to be learned from this, my grandfather, Shinala Hasteen, and so many wonderful blessings. We need to have a beacon. And the example I gave you of a beacon is the Hawaiian, my son who's named Kalealoha. His name means a light unto the world. Or in the Hawaiian way, it means a lighthouse. And as the ships came in, of course, there was the lighthouse to help the people in the ship so that they would not crash into the rocks. And it was a guide for them. So this is what I hope and pray that you use. What I teach you about a good Dene Hasteen, a man who was my grandfather, my paternal grandfather, Shinala Hasteen. His clan is the Nakai Dene, that's what he was, and a wonderful man. So this is just an addendum that I want to share with you because of the clarity I want you to have, that we seek that which is good in others and the examples. Nowadays, the administration and the woke, whatever woke means, they're destroying our statues. They're destroying our lives to try to deter us from our culture, the culture of being Americans, and the culture that we have thrived on for hundreds of years, and to bring and keep God in our lives, to have the God-given freedoms, to stand for culture. If you don't have a culture, you can lose, and you will be overtaken, because there's nothing to define you. That's another reason why I encourage you to do your genealogy. You need to know where you came from, just like I am holding my grandfather's picture here. You need to have these definitions in your life, the foundation that is founded on a rock, not on a sand. So this is basically what I'm trying to teach you. That's why through Grandma's adversities, Grandma has made it through. Doing relaxation techniques and pondering, not pushing away my adversity. The more we complain, the more we cry, and the more we feel like we've lost it and we're not going to make it, that's how we lose. That's how we bring anger and discord to ourselves. We need to, at the time, though we are sick or afflicted in any way, we accept it, and then what we do, once we accept it and stop being angry and crying, that it's an incredible, it's like a heavenly plan that once you accept it, all of a sudden you humble yourself, you pray, and then heaven, all of heaven opens up to you. I know it sounds so mundane, but it's true. I know this. I fought it, but eventually I relented and humbled myself. And because of that, and remembering my teachings from my grandfather, from my Savior, my Lord Jesus Christ, and prayer, all of these things help me. Now I pray for prosperity, and things are changing. The winds are changing. The windows of heaven are opening, and I'm so thankful. It just takes us, it's not easy to let go, to complain and to blame, but to accept it, and then all of a sudden heaven opens. Please remember this. And these are the reasons why I'm sharing my grandfather's life with you, because his windows of heaven opened, though he went through, oh gosh, incredible opposition and pain, all because he was doing what was right. So here is my video, and I offer this to you. And again, this is an addendum to the video that I made to clarify what I really wanted you to know. I love you. I send you my hugs, and Grandma is always pleased with the comments you make. Please share and continue to hear, to learn, to listen, and we have so much a wonderful life to live. And I hope you remember that no matter what you go through, no matter what you hear, that you will stand for what is good, the correct principles of this land, of our spirit, of God, and all that we are. We are wonderful. Thank you. This is Navajo Grandma Hagone.